Nation of refuge, Canada, land of the free, Canada, redemption is coming, Canada, fulfilling our destiny.
Hello everyone, welcome to Good News. My name is Randy King and I'll be your host for the next approximately 30 minutes. And Good News is brought to you by the Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship in Canada. We are an organization of men that we share our testimonies. We don't give you a message, a preaching message. We give you a testimony of what God has done in our lives. And you know what? It has so impacted our lives that we want to share it with whoever we can. And today we have a businessman. His name is Nelson Pohl. Nelson Pohl, welcome to the show today. It's a real privilege and an honor to have you here. And you've got an amazing story. And today we're going to let a few people know about it. And I think it's going to encourage some people. Right. So tell me about yourself. What are you doing in life today?
Well, right now I am married and I have 2 girls. They are in grades 1 and 2, and the most beautiful kids.
Next to mine. Okay.
Next to yours, of course. And married to a beautiful wife, and I'm just
kidding, Nelson.
very blessed.
Yeah, you're a blessed man, indeed. Nelson, what do you do for a living?
I am an owner of a small business. I own and operate a furnace and duct cleaning company,
Yeah.
A1 Furnace Cleaning, and we do a lot of work around the province, and we're going strong.
Whereabouts are you?
Out of Yorkton.
Yorkton, Saskatchewan,
Yes.
Canada. And how wide of a range do you cover?
Oh, anywhere from 2.5, 3 hours
Drive out of Yorkton.
out of Yorkton.
Yeah, awesome. And I'm as well as I'm obviously from Yorkton, Saskatchewan as well, and I know you do an awesome job with your business. And you also are a landowner. Your heritage is basically agriculture.
Grew up on the farm.
Yeah.
On my grandparents, where they lived, and
Yeah. Where your dad
many
lived.
generations of us.
Yeah. Awesome.
And that's where we're living now. And that's where it all began.
Yeah. It all began.
Yeah.
With Ma and Pa Pohl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up on the yard.
In the yard.
In the yard with my grandparents were in the house, and we were in another place on the same
yard.
farm.
Yeah.
So every Sunday, my grandparents took me off to Sunday school,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was
Yeah.
good.
Your story takes a turn, but you have a heritage in the faith that goes back a long time. And I think your story is an awesome, just Canadian
Yeah.
story in a lot of ways. Canada is changing. It really is changing in terms of the demographics of, the cultures are really changing in our country. But yours is a real solid Canadian traditional culture of growing up on the prairies, but and having a faith background. Canada was founded on the principles that come out of the Bible, the Christian Bible.
Right.
And so a lot of people have based their lives on that. And the values that we govern our land are largely taken out of that as well. So anyhow, Nelson, you're in business right now.
Yeah.
But tell me, what was it like growing up on the farm? What kind of an influence did your grandparents have on you?
Well, it was great. We being taken to church every Sunday when I was about 5 years old, probably 6, I asked Jesus into my heart. And, I always believed.
Yeah.
But as things go,
Can sometimes go. Yeah.
you know, you hit the teenage years and all thoughts of that just kind of
Vanish.
vanish and are gone.
Want
And
to do your own thing.
want to do your own thing, go to the lake, started drinking. Found that I really liked that. Did pretty well at that. And it really took me down a hard road.
Okay. Tell us about that.
Well, you know, I was given such an opportunity, but the devil, he's always there. And drank a lot, got into a bit of trouble, and the years went on. And how many times God had his hand on me, though, saving me from harm or worse. And
Yeah.
Mom's prayers brought me home many nights.
Yeah. Mama's prayers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just got to the point, you know, I was sick. And sick and tired of being sick and tired, as they say. But I was really,
So the alcohol was taking its toll on
it was taking
your
its
body?
toll for sure.
Yeah.
And I just reached the point God was calling me. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be this way.
Yeah.
It doesn't. And I was out swathing one day, and I wasn't feeling well. Embarrassed about things that I'd said and done, and I knew that day I had to make a decision to either live or die, basically.
Wow. Wow.
And
How did that happen?
riding on the tractor, and I knew I reached the point where if I didn't quit drinking, and I just wasn't happy. So,
How it started out wasn't how it ended up.
right,
It was such a good time at the
Yeah.
beginning, and
yeah,
I can relate to that. And,
Yeah.
you know, you get pulled in a little at a time, and after a while you realize, man, I've gone farther than I maybe ever wanted to go.
I was so far from who I was,
Yeah.
or who I was meant to be. It wasn't me anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
You'd taken on a whole new identity.
yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, that day when just the power of God just came on me as I was out in the field working.
In what
And
way? In what way? How did that happen? How can you
It was
express
just
that? How did you know it was him?
you know,
Yeah.
when you know.
There's just nothing like it.
There's nothing like it. It was a spiritual war. You know, the devil's telling you, no, you can't change. Everybody knows you who.
This is your identity.
This is who you are, and it's not that way. And God is speaking to you, and He's saying, you can come to me.
Yeah.
Come to me.
Yeah.
And I did, and I just said, Lord, I'm so sorry. So sorry. And the need to drink or all that other stuff that was going on, it just left.
Disintegrated. Just
Yeah.
done.
I would have never went to a program or and God will meet you where you're at, right?
Right,
He knew
right.
that
Yeah.
about me, and that was gone.
Some people, you know, feel that they've tried all those programs.
Yeah.
And they still, you know, they might rise above it for a little while, and then they're back, you know. And but you had an experience where there wasn't even a withdrawal,
No.
and you were like, it was life or death.
Yeah, it was.
You were drinking hard,
Yeah.
and it had really enveloped your life.
Yeah.
And it probably affected maybe even your livelihood. And but God set you free from that.
Set
Just
me free
because
that
you
day.
surrendered your heart.
I surrendered. I just said,
Yeah.
I've had enough.
I've had
And there was a lot of building up to that. I used to read the Bible a lot leading up to that, I loved world events, what's going on, seeing how that's related to
Things in the Bible.
things in the Bible. I mean, it's clear to see what's about to happen. And, you know, I don't want to miss.
Right.
Don't want to
But
miss heaven.
you got sucked in.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Just by being influenced by friends, or just
I was
wanting to be a
probably more
part
the
of
influencer than that. But
Yeah,
yeah, you know, you just start
a little at a
a
time.
little at a time, and
Yeah.
there you go.
You know, it doesn't matter who our guest is on this show. There's going to be somebody
Yeah.
or some group of, you know, a certain type of people that can relate and certain kinds that can't.
Yeah.
But you had a heritage in the faith.
Yeah.
Many people are maybe not even a non-Christian faith, but there's many faiths out there that people have been growing up in. But this particular one, you didn't just break away from it because you
No.
were thinking, I don't want that anymore.
Not at all.
It just happened a little at a time, and away you went. But there was a breaking point in your life that God spoke to your heart and said, have you had enough? I'm still here. I'll still take you. I still want you. I'm always been here. And you surrendered, and your life has really changed.
It has.
Let's move along here. You got a lot of good stuff to tell. So you started. What happened after this? This out swathing down your crops.
Yeah. I said, Lord, what do you want? There's not much I can do,
Yeah.
but where do I go from here?
Yeah. And you started going back to church.
He said, you got to go back to the church where you were raised.
Yeah.
And that wasn't easy at all.
Right.
I went a couple Sundays actually and turned around and didn't even go in. I just knew that there was people there that still knew me, and I thought, oh boy,
Yeah.
what are they going to think, you know?
Yeah.
I come walking in.
Fear,
Fear, yeah.
which
But-
is fear, F-E-A-R, false evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
Right. The enemy of your soul didn't want you going. back.
Oh, it was a fight.
Put fear in you.
But I had walked through so many doors for the devil, and third Sunday, I said, okay, I'm going in. And, you know, it was
Wow.
amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing
Awesome.
to be surrounded by Christian men and
Yeah.
people that,
Men and women.
and I realized everybody's not perfect.
Yeah.
And that's another lie.
Right.
We're not,
Yeah.
but
So you were still in agriculture at that time. You weren't in the furnace cleaning business yet. And tell us about how your family life. You started your own family.
well,
How did all that happen?
time went on. I was working in Yorkton, and
Were you praying for a wife?
well, yeah,
Yeah.
God answered. You know, He's answered every prayer I've ever prayed.
Wow.
Every
Tell us about this
prayer. This one, I was put on a night shift working with somebody who.
So you got a job off the farm.
Yes, I was working off the farm, working night shift. Turned out to be a friend now. He said, you know, I know somebody you need to give a call.
Just like that.
Just like that. And he hadn't seen her in many, many years back in Ontario, and
Clear across the country almost.
clear across the country, and I called her up, and it's a long story, but it just all came together, and
Wow.
here we are.
Well, it's a pretty significant story.
It
actually.
is.
We got a half a show left here. You're praying for a spouse. You want to spend your life with somebody.
Yeah.
Have a family. And a guy comes up to you at work and
Yeah.
says, did he not ask you something about, do you want to get married, or would you?
Yeah, kind of, but he just says, I know
think
who
I
your
got
next
s-
wife's going to be, and...
Just said it like that.
yeah.
Hey, and this guy's from Ontario originally. He doesn't know much about you,
No.
right? Wow.
Yeah, so...
I know who your next wife, or not your next one, but
Yeah.
your wife's going to be.
Yeah. Did I say next?
I might have, but anyways, so he calls her, did he not, and said, "Could I?" Like I know this gentleman enough to know
Yeah.
some of this story already, but
He called her, said...
could I
"Is
give
it-"
him your number? All this
Right.
kind of stuff, and the pieces began to fall together.
Yeah.
But initially, because you were you were wanting a mate.
Yeah.
And wow, God chose her
Yeah.
a few provinces away. And
Yeah.
today, you're happily married,
Yes.
living out back on that farm where Grandma and Grandpa were in the same yard as your parents.
Yeah.
And you got a couple of young girls, beautiful family.
And you know, they love Jesus, and
Wow.
what a blessing that is.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. And how did it work out that this business came along? You weren't looking to be a furnace
No, not
in
at
the
all.
furnace cleaning business.
No, I just was working, and sometimes you just ask yourself, is this what I see myself doing in
Yeah.
5 years, 10 years down the road? And
You certainly should ask yourself. That's a good question
you know, is
for
this
anybody.
going to take me through to the end? And the answer was no, and I wasn't sure what to do, and I just started praying, and literally praying in my office, and Lord, I need a miracle. It's usually how my prayers start out. And one day, we needed our furnace and ducts cleaned, and a gentleman came out, and he was down cleaning,
Doing his thing, yeah.
doing what he does. And he looks up at me and he says, "You should buy this from me." And I said, "Well, maybe I should." And as he's driving away, I looked out the window and I said, "Yeah, I think I'm going to do that."
Really, he made you
Is
an
that
offer
the
you
answer?
couldn't refuse.
Yeah, and within days, weeks, we had the deal.
You had the deal made.
Yeah, and that was the Lord. I mean, it just brought together such a,
Because this guy came to you with
Yeah.
the offer. You didn't ask him.
No.
He brought it up.
yeah,
Yeah. How long after you prayed did that happen, do you think?
probably when I knew I needed a change, probably one year, 2
Okay.
years. Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't too long.
No, and you know, we've just seen miracles happen with the type of work that was coming in, and
You started out yourself, and now
we
you've
started
got a
out
few
and-
employees.
Yeah,
Yeah. And there's a
People-
lot of people in this business, so for you to be keeping busy at it,
yeah.
it's the blessing.
It has
of
been a
God.
blessing.
Yeah, awesome.
Got to-
And so, what about your mom and dad? How are they doing in all of this?
Mom and Dad have a similar story. My dad was raised
Obviously, by your
Christian home,
grandparents.
yeah.
Yeah.
very similar story. But today, you know what? Mom and Dad are back where they should be.
Yeah. It's a miracle.
It is.
It's a miracle.
It
how,
really is.
It's kind of a really good illustration of the prodigal son story in some
Yeah.
ways, isn't it? You know, how son went off and did his own thing.
Yeah.
And but God was there all the time. And when he had come to the end of his rope, the Lord took him back. And that's the beautiful thing about Christianity, you know. You can't make it to heaven on good works. This isn't a religion of good works. Good works is something that happens after your heart's been changed. You want to do something. It's not that you have to. It's a free will that we've been given to do. And I'm here today because I want to be here.
Yeah.
I'm not getting paid to do this. None of us are. We're here because we want to be, because we believe in what we're doing. And we want to make a difference for the better. And it's been awesome. And I know the same can be said for yourself, Nelson. And so where do you see the future? What do you see is happening? What do you want to see happen? What are you believing for?
Well,
I know
first
you
thing
could-
that comes to my mind is I believe the Lord is coming back soon. You look around what's going on, and we need to be ready. Our hearts need to be right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are going through so much.
Yeah. It seems like the farther we've strayed from the things of God, the more difficulties that have arisen in society, right? That's how I see it. If you look at when prayer was taken out of school and added a lot of the government things, you know, godliness,
Yeah.
things have gotten more complicated in our society. And we need to get back to that. And I know,
Teach our children.
teach our children. I know you've got some concerns, and you and your wife have some plans about getting more involved in some of the secular arenas and being an influence for the best. And Do you want to put your 2 cents in worth for that? I mean, we as Christians, the Bible says we're in the world, but we're not to be of the world, but we're also here to be salt and light. We're here to make a difference. And what ways can we be a difference?
Well,
Make a difference.
when I think about when I went to school and what it was like and what now,
Yeah.
and I look at my 2 girls, we need to be teaching them at home
Yeah.
that
Don't rely on the Sunday school teacher.
don't rely on the Sunday school teacher
Totally.
or the social studies teacher, or
Yeah.
you've got to be teaching your kids at home about loving the Lord and serving Him, and that word is planted in their heart, and like mine was,
Yeah.
and it won't,
It came back.
and it comes back. It
Yeah.
will come back.
And it doesn't have to be the way it was for you. You don't have to fall away
No.
from the way you're being
No.
raised. It happens a lot, but it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
And thank God He brought you back. So, Nelson, if there's going to be a lot of people watching this program. What would you say to somebody that maybe has been in your shoes, or maybe I can relate to your story, or maybe can't even? Because there's going to be a real mix of people watching. What would you say to them?
I would say don't believe the lies that the devil is telling you, that no matter what you're going through, that's who you are. It's not who you are. That's not who you're meant to be.
Yeah.
You weren't.
Only one person knows, and that's the one that created you.
That's right.
Yeah.
The liar, he'll lie about that. He will steal and destroy.
He comes to kill, steal, and destroy. Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be that way. And the Lord, when you surrender, just surrender. I've had enough.
Yeah.
Give your heart to the Lord. He will come in.
How do you do that? How do you give Him your heart?
It's not the word. You have to believe in your heart. Believe with your soul. Believe with everything that Jesus is who He said He is. He died on the cross to take away. He died in our place to take those sins. Penalty of sin is death. Somebody's going to pay. And He paid that.
Right.
We don't have to.
Right.
Believe. Surrender your life, and He will come in and be the Lord.
Yeah. I think in the New Testament, in the book of Romans, chapter 10 and verse 9, I believe it says, paraphrasing it, that if you will confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, and that if you will believe in your heart that God raised Him from the dead because He died for our sins, but He didn't stay dead, He was risen again from the dead. That's what made Him God. That's what made Him who He said He was. So if you'll do those things, confess with your mouth and believe in your heart that God raised Jesus from the dead, ask Him to come into your heart. He'll make you a brand new person. The Bible says that all the old things will pass away and everything will become new. I know when I made this decision, I had a similar upbringing, but when I made the decision to follow Him, everyone in my hometown that knew me, they knew I was different.
Yeah.
And some of them said, most of them actually said, that was good you did that.
Yeah.
It was good for me, but it wasn't good for them. You know what I
People
mean?
see the change.
Yeah,
and-
they saw the change.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what a change it can make. And you might be somebody watching today, and you might think your life is good the way it is. What do I need that, the religious stuff, that's just for people who are weak and are going through something in their life, they need to grab onto something. Well, that's not true. That's another lie. It's another lie. And you know what? Ultimately, we're all going to leave this earth one day. You're going to close your eyes and take your last breath for the last time. And that's just not a fear tactic. That's a fact.
Yeah.
And I would sooner live my life now as a Christian and find out in the end that there is no God than not to live my life as a Christian and find out in the end that there is. And being saved is just being saved from being separated from God for eternity. He's either real or He's not. We're either living the biggest lie that there ever is, or we're living the truth. We've had enough change in our lives to believe that it's the truth.
Yeah.
And what's good for us is good for everybody. It's good for all men. Red and yellow, black and white, we're all precious in His sight. And we would encourage you out in the audience today, If you've never made that decision, or if you have made that decision and you fell off the track a little bit like Nelson did, fell off a lot actually, there's still hope. Come on back. Come on back. There's a life to live yet. No matter what your age is, no matter how young or how old you are, there's a life worth living. But it's really not worth living if it's not living for Jesus. And if you've said a prayer today of asking Christ to come into your heart and to change your life, we would encourage you to get into a good church that believes in being born again and being accountable to other believers. Get a spiritual mentor and tell somebody that you've made a decision to follow Christ. You'll never be disappointed. You know, we're halfway through our lives, I suppose, but there's so much of the journey left. It didn't just start and stop with saying a prayer. Mm-hmm. It's an ongoing thing.
And you know, when you stumble, He's there.
Yeah. I think so many people think when they do make a mistake, I've blown it, I can't go back. I'd look like a hypocrite.
God's not like that.
No.
His
forgiveness is unlimited.
It is.
It's unlimited. Not that we should live like yo-yos. He gives us the power to overcome things such as alcoholism, any kind of habits, any kind of lifestyles. God gives us the power to overcome it.
Yeah.
So thank you, Nelson, for being a guest today.
Thank you.
On this Good News program. The audience has heard some good news. Thank you all for joining us. God bless you all. Till next time, we'll see you again.
Nation of refuge, Canada, land of the free.